Hello, my dear Pharma Network. And today we are having a podcast live from Philly. And here we are on V7 booth and talking to Rohit today. Rohit is industry analyst from Everest Group. And this is the very interesting angle of discussion. Rohit, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm practice director with Everest Group. I lead our research efforts on anything and everything to do with life sciences commercial, be it services, technology, really passionate about this space. In terms of technologies, we cover from CRMs, engagement platforms, all the niche platforms as well. Talk about content, talk about engagement, talk about omnichannel. So we cover all of that. And yeah, I think we are famous for publishing a bunch of hot takes in the market on what's happening or what are enterprises expecting, and working with providers such as yourself in understanding your vision on how you want to help enterprises meander through these challenges. Yeah, I think that's my day job and I love it.
How amazing. So this is also very well known from our customers because they're using Everest Group like a direction, like a guide. So where to go, where to look. So which vendors are at the loop at the moment. So where to look for some capabilities for the technology. And moving to the technology topic, as much as we can see, there is a lot of traction in the content production, in the communication. We hear about the content supply chain, how AI is disrupting that. So, but what about your vision here? What can you see? How the industry is changing? Is it changing?
Changing for sure, but changing for better. It's up to, stakeholders such as yourself on the supply side, analysts such as myself. But maybe I'll take a couple of steps back and probably share with you, your viewers, on how we look at life sciences commercial technologies landscape, because hand to heart, this space is not that well defined as some of this is, say, on retail side or say on banking, financial services side. On life sciences front, what life sciences commercial stack currently looks like, it is a very gray area. So how we look at it, and that's our endeavor of messaging it out in the market and educating market as well. We see CRM as the base layer. It's
Yeah.
not, one-stop solution for everything that is out there. It's the base layer. On top of it, we imagine three towers. The first one being the engagement optimization, second one being content optimization, and last one is learning management or learning optimization. Might come as a surprise, but that's there. On top of it, or through all of these platforms, a common thread that is stitching this story together is the intelligence piece. Intelligence could be embedded in some of these stars, or it could be a standalone, which is across all of these platforms, which are intelligence platforms. And then you have engagement across sales, pharma, sales reps, MSLs. This is where, even visually, we think content is the central piece. It's the central element. It's the central tower there. And I think the entire story revolves around omnichannel.
Omnichannel
I think
engagement.
it's a term more abused than used in market. I think, to me, omnichannel is not a channel problem. I think it's a content problem. What do you think about this?
That's very interesting because omnichannel is all about the orchestration. It's all about personalization, orchestration, having this right message in the right time, in the continuum, right? So this is all about that. And then there are many things could go potentially wrong with omnichannel. First of all, people could just really focus on the channel, then on the personalization of the message and not the channel per se, but the role of the channel, right? Because it's orchestrated scenarios, so we are talking about. And if any of these elements are going wrong, then HCP or even us, we feel bombarded. So we feel bombarded. We do not have this connection. We do not feel the connection between the messages. We do not see this, omnichannel as a good instrument of communication. However, I also picked up a very different angle of the discussion with the appearance of AI. Many of us are talking about economically health, so how we can really save on the production of the content, how we can save on how we are orchestrating the omnichannel. Because if you can see at the moment, all these silos, they not only disrupting us, they cost us a lot of, money. And there's where like a lot of millions are just lost because of these silos. What is your thinking about that?
Maybe I'll answer it in two parts. First, I think you started about defining to our audiences how omnichannel works, right stakeholder, right message, right channel, right time. I think industry is also trying to solve this problem. But like I mentioned, one thing that they typically miss here, which has a cascading effect on personalization that we talked about, is the right content asset. What format content is going out, what frequency, so I think especially after COVID, like you mentioned, HCPs or stakeholders, they are bombarded with messages, all kinds of messages on all kinds of challenges. This is multi-channel. This is not omni-channel. So I think that is where the role of AI becomes more important. One, in identifying HCP preferences so that personalization kicks in at a later stage. And then maybe using AI to bring that modular content all together, cutting down on, the production timelines and giving the production teams, brand teams, design teams that arsenal to go out and deliver those personalized experiences to stakeholders. Second, I think very valid point you bring in. This is, more realistic that why all of this is cool, jazzy, shiny toy in the market, but what about the costs? And I think that is where the debate around, how much to spend, what multiple of ROI to expect from these investments. And even if you are making investments, is content the place where you want to make that investment, or do I make investments in building my data architecture or getting my sales rep equipped with sales co-pilots? So I think that's the discussion that currently enterprises are having. They are open to doing pilots. They're doing a lot of POCs across the board, but I think they have been very selective in qualifying pilots in select areas. I think you would agree with that, or maybe you can present your point of view in terms of how do you try and quantify the value that, eWizard or Eva is able to deliver to your clients.
Exactly. So that's a very valid point. So like I think like the other thing is very, people related. So you just mentioned, so there are a lot of pilots are happening. That means like this experimentation and this adoption, is it unlocked already? And people are willing to go to the pilots to experiment with the new technology. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think enterprises are open, especially top 20 pharma. You speak with them, they are pretty open to experimentation, but they want to see good proof points first. They want to see nice demos. If you assure them of the value that they can get, and value may not be directly linked with, the uplift that they're getting or the top line that is getting affected. But if you're able to communicate good value to them, I think then they are looking forward to invest in these pilots and trying to make the best use of the bucks that they have to spend on AI, and they have the bucks to spend on AI. So I think that's my quick take on this.
Thank you so much. So, like, if you would like to change anything with this modern technology and the opportunities we have, so what you would change immediately? What is your first pick?
I think immediately that I would want to change is enterprise mindset.
Wow, that's a bold one.
They've always had, they'll always have money. I think it's the mindset that needs to change. What we've seen in the last 2.5 years is they'll spend money on any and every kind of pilot that they see in the market. They need to be a little more aligned and forward looking and not get only the short term benefits that they can get. And that is also where the role of, advisors, analysts, such as people at Everest Group, and I think people on the supply side, such as yourself, becomes all the more important. We need to be honest and bold enough to take this conversation from use cases and pilots to outcomes. Check with your clients. No, what is the outcome that you're chasing? Don't chase that I want to onboard 10 agents by end of 2026.
Yeah.
Say that I want to deliver modularized content to my top 10 customers by 2026. Then it is up to you and other providers to help them achieve that outcome. You might do it with your platform, you might do it with your agent. That is where they will get the best value for their buck. And that is where I think they'll be able to achieve that outcome. Currently, they are able to achieve the short term benefits of everyone has agents in their teams now, but are they able to get that outcome? Food for thought.
Exactly. And this is really the thing. So we need to go and to change the mindset. We need to make sure that we are, as people, we are changing. We're changing, and by embracing new technology, we are not feeling scared or just, threatened. We are really going and getting the best versions of ourselves. So instead of being, scared and enslaved with the thoughts about AI taking out our jobs and everything, we need to get into that mode where we are creative, where we are really thinking what we can accelerate, what we can actually make better. What was my pain for many years and I wasn't able to tackle and go there. Rohit, thank you so much for being with us. That was an amazing dialogue. So I hope to see you again and again in our podcast. And please, listeners, join us and be with us. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much for inviting me. This was a pleasure speaking with you, talking about industry trends. AI will not replace folks. AI will replace folks who don't understand AI.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And here we are again live from Philadelphia. We are all in discussions, and this day is not going to end. So today we have another amazing guest in our improvised studio. Is Ruslan Horblyuk. And we have a new topic for us, which is market access. We never touched upon that. Ruslan is a chief strategy officer in AESARA, the company who is specializing on market access. So, and we will be talking about innovation and changes in this sphere. Ruslan, please welcome and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, absolutely happy to. I've been with the company for over 9 years now. I was employee number 3,
Employee number 3.
and we're about 55 strong now, primarily in North America between US and Canada, with probably key markets, including France and Germany, UK, Spain, Italy. Prior to joining AESARA, I spent 15 plus years on the industry side. So my last protocol was Pfizer. And prior to that, General Electric Medical and GlaxoSmithKline for the longest time, primarily in health economics, sales research, and market access capacity.
That's excellent. Such impressive background. And within the AI coming up, right? Especially we are as V7 in the content space. So everything is changing for us. How is it for you? What is changing with AI domination in market access?
Well, I wouldn't call that AI is dominating market access.
Oh, that's good for you.
Right? I think there's certainly a lot of interesting areas that people are exploring across both market access and outcomes research alike. I think some of the interesting pieces that people are exploring is potentially using AI to help with economic modeling, which is important for health technology assessment, right? There's a lot of information synthesis, right? People are spending a lot of time and a lot of money historically on the industry side to put together health technology assessment dossiers, the ones that are being submitted to NICE in the UK, right? So I just talked to some of the industry colleagues and they're exploring using AI to put some of these things together, which is not dissimilar to medical content creation. When you're trying to use large language models to synthesize and deliver a write-up.
Yes, exactly. Because this is the totally, the change in all the, content supply chain. Because when you were really focused on the human efforts in the past, now we are all for the generating the content from the email to the social media, so banners. So we are all into these AI generated assets. So this is a big change for us and big acceleration. So if you would say what will happen in the couple of the next years within AI and market access, how you would like forecast that?
Well, it's really hard to predict, right? You can listen to a lot of podcasts that talk and speculate about AI. It's a challenging space to start with, right? I think a couple of things to be noted. It's going to change quite a bit, right? As a consultancy, we do have a luxury and an honor to go and see, across multiple fences. And people always asking whether the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, right? And some of the things that really need to age when it comes to AI in the last year or so is really help our pharma partners to do some pilot tests, right? Really do a sprint pilot test of different AI-enabled technology, do a little bit of a program evaluation, and come back and say what worked, what didn't work, right? And a lot of times things we are looking at is, is the speed better, right? Is the cost cheaper? Is the quality acceptable or
Yeah.
better, right? So those are the three things we've been looking at. And quite honestly, a lot of the technologies kind of failed that we've tried, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be here.
Yeah.
I think that technology is going to get better, and we will be able to generate a lot of things on the market access side, primarily from content perspective, using generative AI.
So the content perspective is still in the center of all of that. So that's an interesting angle, because at the moment we haven't seen a lot of change in the market access with the AI approaching, but your vision is that AI will become better and the changes are upcoming. And if you would really talk a little bit about the trust, because that's, we are all relying on this data very much so, and we need to trust this data, because then we are pivoting in the right direction with all the strategies we have. So what is your thinking about AI and trust? Can we trust AI data at the moment so if we use it?
Well, it really depends where the source data comes from, right? Is it closed? Is it not closed? And whatnot? What are you training your models on? And I'd say that, if you box it in the right box with the right information, you can probably trust it. I should probably invite my counterpart from our sister company, AESARA, because we spun off a digital business about a year and a half ago, and they do have a digital platform, which is a business management platform called Atlas. One of the uses is essentially to manage the whole value, message creation, gap analysis, how do you address gap for evidence generation through their platform? And they do have some of the AI technology that is being built in and will evolve over time, right? And I think one of the things that they do very specifically, right? If you query a large library of data supporting, let's say, a product that's been on the market for a while, has a lot of data supporting it, and you can query the data, but, they always make sure there's a tagline from the queried piece, there is a reference, and you can pull up the reference and see exactly where the data comes from, right? So that trust becomes much stronger when you have a closed system versus when you allow room for hallucinations, and that's when it's not that good.
Yeah, so that's exactly where we are at the moment, with all the RAG-based architecture, with all these, references based on the approved knowledge base and used only by the customer. So where we are together, so the similar approach, the way we are seeing that today. So my thinking was, today we are still having human in the loop. This approach, though, is blossoming today. We have somehow semi-automated agentic AI, and then we have human in the loop on the almost entire, process chain. So whether you call it. So in the future, everyone says there will be dominating independent AI, so the trustworthy with the data and everything. What is your opinion on the future? Will still be human in the loop, or AI will be so independent?
Well, I think that you can use one AI to check the product or work of the other AI, and you can do it multiple times, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's that component. I think with respect to the human, then the question becomes, how do we treat strategy, right? A lot of your content creation needs to be on strategy, right? And so far, strategy is being created by the humans.
Yeah.
I can put the question back to you. Do you think that AI will start creating strategies for us moving forward?
It's a very good question, because let us observe the behavior of AI and human and their relationships, like our relationships with AI today, right? So what we have been imagining by launching AI, that human will be creative, will be doing all the strategic work, and AI will be just doing all the repetitive work. But what we can observe at the moment, a part of content generating is the one
Right.
piece. We are observing we are really addressing AI, our basic questions and basic needs, and AI starts to think instead of us, and we are checking the results. So there's its type of behavior. It's very common if I'm planning the trip for my family and I'm going to AI. So then I need to check every result, like if this hotel is open in this season, if this connection does not have the gap because like some information could be not validated properly. So in fact, I think it is a little bit trying to get refocused at the moment. AI is dreaming and we are working. So I can see this changed in the future. As you say, we keep this strategic angle. So, but then we shouldn't outsource the strategic questions to AI.
One would hope not, and because that's part of my job and it's part of your job.
Exactly. So like we are still staying here and hoping that the AI will be not taking it so that we will be not enslaved by AI, but will be really using that for acceleration. Great. The last but not least, if you would change anything in the industry, one single thing now, like in this present time, what it would be?
That's a really tough question.
I love tough one.
We do a lot of work in market access and evidence generation. And it's been a really tough time for us because, facing JCA in Europe, we've been facing IRA, CMS price negotiations in the US. We are talking about MFN pricing, right? So there's a lot of things. And I think if I were to change one thing in the industry, I would really step outside of the pharma, quite honestly, because I'm a big proponent of pharma and I have a lot of appreciation and I get a lot of inspiration from that work. But I think we should really be looking at the healthcare system as a whole. Right? We do blame drug manufacturers a lot of times and they're an easy target, but the healthcare system as a whole has a lot of inefficiencies. Right. And I think looking at those inefficiencies and eliminating them potentially with the use of AI and closing the loop, that right could be a really good way for us to disperse some of the really strong laser focus on pharmaceutical manufacturing.
Roman, that's a great idea because this is kind of things we need to get our mind and our focus on to have this end-to-end big helicopter view healthcare system instead of having isolated bits and pieces and trying to accelerate them. And if we would have that as an our closest target, so I think every one of us will be only winning from that. So thank you for being
my
with us
pleasure.
today. That was a nice and very productive talk and very unique angle on how we will see AI for market access and beyond in the future. Thank you, Roman.
Pleasure, Nataliya.
Our day is far away from being finished, so we are continuing our interesting discussions around AI from Philadelphia Congress Center. And we have an amazing guest today with us, Nihar Patel from Pharma, who is a business developer and has also appeared to be very fond of AI. I have a question before you introduce yourself. Have you heard today AI word too much in this conference?
Yeah, I mean, everyone I've talked to in the past 2 days have said something about AI. So it's pretty exciting. And I think it's something that's new in the pharma industry, but also something that will help evolve the industry and bring more efficiencies and bring more innovation in the industry.
It's amazing. So can you, I don't know, like if you can talk about your current work, but can you say us, what are you doing and how AI is helping you? So how AI is changing or directing what you are doing today?
Sure. So I work in the pharmaceutical industry in the business development field. So far in the conference, I've learned a lot about AI, things I've never heard of before. Three parts of AI which are very important. There's generative AI, there's communicative AI, and there's predictive AI. So generative AI, a lot of the pharma companies can use that to use prior data sets and create new material. So from medical communications content, predictive AI, AI can be used in, for example, medicine websites, and you could have forecasts done. A lot of data that is available, you can now use it to actually predict future forecasts of a product. So predictive AI is being able to use a lot of data sets that are readily available, but being able to actually forecast into the future of products or market research. Communicative AI can be used as chatbots. Patients can, or even doctors can use chatbots to communicate with AI and get information quicker. So generative AI, predictive AI, communicative AI, those are really important tools that can be used in the pharma industry. And it's pretty new, but I think it's going to be something that the industry will implement slowly and can bring a lot of good innovation to the industry.
That's amazing. So that's great how many applications we have for AI in our industry, right? So if you would change today something tremendously in pharma industry, what you would change?
I think it would be the way we use data. There's a lot of data available. You get data from payers, from the pharmacy level, from the hospital level, from HCPs, from the doctors, the prescribers, and all these data sets, they're very individual and they're
Silas
not
Stephen.
connected. They're in their silos, and pharmaceutical companies have their own data. So there's a lot of data available, but there hasn't been a way to connect it and use it to advantage of helping patients even more, right? Being able to reach those patients that might not have access to the drugs. So market access can be more efficientized, but also being able to bring drugs to market quicker. AI can be used in clinical trials. It could shorten the length of time to bring a drug to market, being able to market a drug more efficiently. And I think that there's so many ways AI can be used where it could make some tasks more efficient, but also we'll still need the human eye to look at
To
the
validate
data.
the
So it will be more of assistance. It's not going to be where AI is going to take over and people will lose their jobs. I think it will make us more smarter the way we act and the way the industry can perform. And at the end of the day, it could help the patients even more and bring more access to drugs and bring more drugs to market.
hopefully. So that really opens us the very interesting perspective of how AI could be applied. So do you see what type of the blockers do you see today in the way that this AI could be implemented on the top of the data we have already? Because why I'm asking this question, because usually there are a lot of things like all of us are not having a biggest trust of sharing the data with AI. We are not feeling protected enough. So what the blockers do you see here? So like in the real life?
Yeah, I think, for AI, you definitely need especially in healthcare, there's a lot of proprietary information. So definitely there will be a lot of regulatory legal challenges. And I think that's something that's a up and coming issue, but also there's ways to actually implement that into AI. And I've seen a lot of people talk about it in the conference this week where they take it into account regulatory challenges. So they make sure um, maybe patient info isn't shared, it's tokenized. Direct patient names and information isn't shared throughout databases. So there's ways to tokenize that information, make things more secure, but also follow all the guidelines that we have today on regulatory and legal issues in the pharma industry. This is a continuing challenge to implement AI into an industry because you're innovating a framework that hasn't been changed for a while. But I think a lot of the companies I've seen here today, they're having these new views on how to do it, and everyone's having their new angles. And I think it's going to bring a lot of a change in the industry. But I think it's getting everyone excited that
Yeah,
tech is the
excitement is
focus.
there. That's for sure, right? And Igar, so I know you are in business development, right? But if you were naming like three, disciplines or three business lines inside pharma, which will be disrupted in the first place, where it will be?
I would say market access, market research, and lastly, just the side of coverages. So I think market research will definitely get more innovation just because of the way now we're using this data. So now people will really be able to analyze different sets of data, connect it, and use it more efficiently. Market access as well. I think there's a lot of areas where maybe there's not coverages on different patient populations, or the patients don't have that access to medications. So this will help find those loopholes and to try to really bring access to these medications to these patients in the prevalence of the disease state.
That's truly the purpose of everything what we are doing, to bring this information at the early stage to patients, so to us. So then to fight the misinformation and to find the way to make sure that medical scientific approaches will win over the misinformation and misguidance we have so much online today. So and AI should accelerate that and help.
Yeah.
So thank you for being with us today, answering these questions and taking your from the business development perspective, from your new look at the things with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The
Thanks for
pleasure
having me.
meeting you. Thank you.